Welcome to Choose the Bear, a podcast for people living single and or child-free, or who are just curious about a life built on independence, intention, and joy. Because being single and child-free isn't a phase, it's a path. I'm your host, Kat Calvin. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Today's guest is really exciting. It is the OG single podcaster who has done just years of really incredible work in the single joy finding movement, I guess, whatever we're calling this. Her name is Shani Silver. She's brilliant and so fun and very wise. And I learned a lot in this episode and also loved her book, which is, of course, linked in the show notes, as well as her long-running podcast, which she just ended, but is keeping all of the episodes on Patreon, and that is linked as well. And I think that when it comes to thinking about reframing singlehood, Shani really is one of the originals talking about it, and is a person we should still be listening to. So I hope you enjoy. Hello, all. I am here. I'm so excited with one of the OGs of the single positivity movement. She is Mother. Take a seat, Taylor. That's what the kids say. I'm here with the incredible Shani Silver. She of the podcast, which you should catch the archives or catch the last few eps, called A Single Serving, which, how great is that name? And then she has a book, A Single Revolution, which we're going to talk through it because it is fantastic. And I've been taking notes and tabbing, which is my way. Virtual tabbing because I live in a small town and the actual book hasn't arrived yet. So I got the ebooks.
Oh, I would have sent you one. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. I'm super happy to buy it, but like, Amazon, sometimes I get things 10 minutes later. I'm like, how'd this get here? Sometimes it's like 2 weeks. Like, I've been waiting for a plant holder for literally 2 weeks. I have no idea where it is.
We're all adjusting. We're all trying to like adjust and divest Amazon and like find new places to get things. So I'll go to like a book outlet site and get used books. And I'm like so excited to read this book. And then I don't get it for a month. And I'm like, oh, okay.
And then it shows up and you're like, what is, well, you've already moved on. Exactly. So Shani, tell everyone, please, who are you? What do you do? What do you want people to know?
Sure. So thank you so much for having me, first of all. My name is Shani Silver. I am a writer and a podcaster, and I talk about singlehood in a way that doesn't suck. I talk about it in a way that gives it some dignity and some validity and puts it on par with coupled life, because that's what it is. It's an aspect of human living that is completely valid and completely wonderful. And I think a lot of it for me that I really haven't talked about too much actually is generational. I was born in 1982. I was a teenager in the 90s, and all of the messaging I received around dating, relationships centered men, centered men's desire, centered men's superiority, centered patriarchy. And it really influenced how I felt about my own status as a single person moving into adulthood. And it certainly impacted how I dated and dated and dated and dated and dated and dated. And it really didn't dawn on me until my 30s that that things were fucked up. So I had, oh, sorry, can I swear?
Yeah.
Okay. So I had to like unpack and repack what singlehood was, how it was going to affect me, and how I was going to live it. Because this old strategy of just dating yourself insane until you find someone, and then when you find someone, they'll rescue you from that hellscape, that wasn't working because he wasn't ever showing up, ever. Mm-hmm. So I just sort of paused and asked myself, what do I hate about being single so much? Why do I want a partner so badly that I'm willing to do this to myself? And as soon as you start doing that, you give yourself so much ease and so much room to breathe and so much more life. You literally give yourself your life back when you start reevaluating singlehood under your own lens, not the lens they fed you. And in so doing, I was like, oh, this is so good. I'm not keeping it to myself. So I started a podcast. I started writing about it. I wrote a book about it. I'll talk about it forever. I have 2 Substacks now. It's like we're talking about this. We are talking about this, and something that's really important for me to still like communicate to your audience and to mine is that I'm a huge fan of people falling in love. I'm a huge fan of romantic connection. Becoming less of a fan of marriage by the day, but that's a product of our environment these days. I'm still very pro love and pro relationship. I just want those good feelings to be on par with the good feelings we have about singlehood. So I look forward to partnership. I can't wait to be in one someday. I've been single 17 years. I think it's time. But that doesn't matter because fate doesn't care if you think it's time. Like it never matters. But no, I want more balance between the way we look at couplehood and partnership and the way we look at singlehood, especially if you're a woman or identify as a woman. I think it's vital that you get a grip on how good it is to be alone before you bind yourself to somebody else. I have been talking so much.
No, well, I'm interviewing you, so it would be horrible if you didn't. If you just get one word answers, this would be a 5-minute mini episode. I know. I love all that. As the listeners know, all three of you, I have been a confirmed bachelorette since I was 7, and I've always been very perplexed of why every woman didn't just want to be single. And so I love all of the messaging you put out there, and one of the things that I know has been repeated on this podcast and all over is that hopefully you every single human being will have at least some time in which they are a single adults before they get married, unless you're being married off at 15, right? And given divorce rates, given that death exists, etc., you're also probably going to be single at some other point. And so just embracing it because it's an inevitability. Everyone is single till they're not, right? And as you said, you cannot, and I think we see this over and over. And I think the older we get, especially as women, we see this so much in other women. You can't be truly happy and equal in a relationship if you don't know who you are first, anyways. So, like, why not just enjoy beef? Also, a man in my house. I had bad luck of being born straight. My dog and I are fine. I'm not sharing a bathroom with a man that's disgusting.
Honestly, like one of the reasons I was so happy to get this house when I moved to New Orleans is that it has 2 bathrooms and I've never had 2 bathrooms. And when I got here, I was like, okay, now I can date a man. He can have his own bathroom. I do not have to share a bathroom with this human being. It was a really big deal to me. 2 bathrooms is essential. Also, I'm 42. I don't want my guests to use my personal bathroom. It's just things that bother me now that didn't before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it always bothered me, but I mean, we're the same age, and yeah, it's like, no, I need no one to see my bathroom. I'm not sharing a bathroom with a man. If my dog used the bathroom, I'd have to have 2 bathrooms, but luckily he goes out. But one of the things that I love is I was, obviously Insta stalking you. And you have so many messages that are very clear and very positive. And that just really stand out on your page in a way that I think for people who are looking for single positivity messages, they're great. But also for people who aren't, who like would just happen to scroll, it's the messaging is very clear and very positive. And I really felt like, oh, this is something that I think, because I think there's obviously still a lot of hesitation around being single or being publicly single or positive. And like most people would even see like, a single positive message and just like shirk away. But you do a good job of communicating it on your social media. What are your thoughts and sort of strategy about why you've built out your social messaging that way?
I had to.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to be a content creator if you don't. You can't be a content creator that is functional and keeping a roof over your head if you don't produce content consistently, constantly, clearly, and of very high quality. It was a necessity. I don't necessarily want to post quotes to Instagram every time I have a Substack publish or every time I have a podcast episode go live, but I do it because that's the only way anybody's ever going to hear what I have to say. I use social media as a means to distribute a message because nobody has ever given me a microphone. I built my own.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the strategy. It's Yeah, I have so many friends that like have content calendars and plan things out and schedule posts and do things properly. I don't do that. When I want you to know something, I say it to you. That's what I do. And if I strive for anything, it's consistency and clarity because I don't think you're going to be successful in anything if you don't do those two things, content creation or otherwise. Um, but also, I have a lot of worry around maybe my messaging is not clear because these are a lot of new concepts that people haven't heard before. People haven't heard the idea that a house with one person in it is full. People haven't heard the idea that one person counts as a family. These are things that our brains have not been programmed to accept. They've been programmed to reject them. And what you said about people looking at a message of singlehood positivity and running away from it is very real because we've been taught that if you like being single, if you even acknowledge good messages about singlehood, you're ugly and boys won't like you.
Mm-hmm.
Lie to somebody else, not to me. I know it intimately. I have been doing this work for years and years. Women just don't want boys to not like them, and they don't want boys to think they're ugly. And if you participate in my work, you're worried boys are going to think you're ugly until you reach a certain point in your development where you're like, there's no way that that's true. And in fact, this this is necessary. Like saying what I have to say and being who I am is necessary to put out into the world because it filters out everybody that has no business in my vicinity.
Yeah.
So once you can flip that switch for yourself, you're pretty open to what I have to say. But before that, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to be an actively dating woman, particularly in your early to mid 30s, and come across work that says you don't have to date anymore. You don't have to do this to yourself anymore. Being single is a wonderful thing that I'd like you to appreciate while you have it. There's nothing scarier. There is nothing scarier to a woman who is swiping her life away than my work. And I'm cool with that.
I mean, and I love so in your book you talk about deleting dating apps, and I can't watch dating reality shows because I spend the whole time screaming at my television, just be single. I'm just like throwing things at my TV because I'm like, why I don't, and I say this to friends too, why are you putting yourself through this? Just be single. It's great. And why are you on this island in a bikini? I don't understand what you're doing. And I've never been on the apps because I could not be licensed in dating, but I'm constantly, even yesterday, looking at a friend's things and like who's she talking to or reading texts or whatever. And I'm just like, this is exhausting. And I get tired of me. So I was like, just block him. And they're like, well, you always say that. Yeah, because they're always objectively terrible people. And so can you talk about your thoughts on deleting the apps and sort of how you talk about it in the book? Because I read it and I was like, this is a message that so many women need to hear, including every woman who's ever been on a dating reality show.
I think they go on those reality shows because they want to be famous, not because they want to find love. Like
Yeah.
let's all collectively cut the shit and accept that they sort of signed up for their own exploitation, though I doubt that they knew the full extent of it before they hopped in there. But the reason I think people should delete their dating apps is that the last thing a dating app wants you to do is find a partner, because when you do, it stops making your money.
Yep.
And you need to sit with that sentence for a very long time because you need to understand that it's keeping you single on purpose. Yes, it is hiding people from you. Yes, it is hiding compatible people from you on purpose. It is hiding good people from you on purpose, viable partners from you on purpose. It wants you on that dating app for the rest of your fucking life, and it wants you paying for it. So, if you wouldn't go to Vegas every single day hoping to become a millionaire, maybe don't go to a dating app every day hoping to find a partner, because both of those spaces are playing you.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody wants to believe that either. Everybody wants to just call me like jaded and, just an ugly, loud, yelling woman when I say these things, for having the audacity to give a shit about a single woman's bank account, giving a shit about a single woman's well-being, her mental health, her physical health, her safety. We can throw that in there. I don't know how much more dating apps can possibly do to hurt women before women throw them away.
Yeah.
I've said this. I've said this on many podcasts, my own, in my book, in my writing. I don't know how many more ways to say to women, dating apps are hurting you badly. Delete them forever.
Yeah.
I also have to acknowledge to anyone who's having trouble with this that they are designed to be addictive. They are meant to addict you to them. So when you delete them because you're frustrated and a week later you feel compelled to re-download that dating app, that's very much by design. And I couldn't break out of that cycle for about a decade. And the way that I finally did was I asked myself who dating apps were serving, because they sure as shit weren't serving me. They were serving themselves. They always had been. I used them for 10 years off and on and never had even one relationship result from them. And when I could finally acknowledge they have never served me, they have only ever served themselves, they were gone. And I have never once felt pulled to get them back. Not once since then. That was January 23rd, I believe, 2019. It was either the 23rd or the 26th. I get the date mixed up, but it was late January 2019. Haven't had them since.
Incredible. Now, and I mean, I feel like all of this falls under the umbrella of what you talk about around reframing singlehood.
For sure.
And on what you mean by that.
Reframing is a really fun process. It has to do with perspective. It's the easiest way I can explain it is with examples. So my favorite example to give, because it's the clearest, is if you have the perspective in your singlehood that you hate sleeping alone. You don't like being in your bed alone. You want company there. You want comfort there. You want security there, that safe presence there. I hate sleeping alone. That's one perspective on singlehood, and it is valid. There's another, which is I get the whole bed.
Yeah, you get to sleep in the middle and starfish.
Yes. You choose which perspective you want to look at singlehood through. Because for every shitty perspective you have about your own singlehood, you can flip it around and see it from the other side if you want to. And reframing is helpful in allowing single women to develop more mental health around singlehood, more happiness and joy around singlehood, more thought neutrality around singlehood, like just choosing a different perspective. They're both true. They can both be true, but which one are you choosing and why? And if you're only choosing the miserable ones, my guess is that you've never heard the positive ones exist. So that's why I'm so adamant about discussing so many of them, is that it's like, these things all get to be true. Yes, singlehood can fucking suck. I'm never going to deny that. I am so fucking tired of not splitting rent. I can't tell you. It's every day, every day I'm angry about how much money my coupled friends have that I've never had. I have done the math. Don't do that to yourself. Just don't calculate it. Don't just save your heart there. I get it. I get that there are aspects of singlehood that suck, but there are just as many that don't, and they have not had their day in the sun. Mm-hmm. And if you are reluctant to dive into them, if you are reluctant to explore a morsel of singlehood joy, you need to make friends with more divorced women. You absolutely do, because they have perspective in spades. Mm-hmm. And they'd be happy to share it with you as well.
It's true.
So I think reframing is the first easiest step toward becoming happier in your day-to-day life. It is also free. So I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of reframing.
And then can you talk about why self-forgiveness is so important in that process?
Well, sorry, Ice.
No, it's all right.
Self-forgiveness is essential because they've been fucking with you, babe. Like the societal grooming of women has been fucking with us since we were in middle school, maybe even younger. You didn't do this. You didn't give yourself this perspective on singlehood. You didn't make dating this hard. I know that for sure. You are not at fault for all of this stuff in the singlehood space that the dating and relationships industry wants you to think you're at fault for. Dating is an industry. Yes. And it needs you to hate yourself or it doesn't make any money. It's almost parallel to the diet industry. It needs you to hate yourself or it doesn't make any money. When something is full of shit, it needs to tell you lies in order to make money. That's the only way it survives. So discover some truth, set yourself free from it, and starve it of your dollars.
I love it. I love it. I'm joining the cult of Shani. So one of the things that I love, I'm a practical tips kind of gal, and you have a chapter called Shani's Suggestions, in which you give very practical and actionable tips for how to tailor your life to your singlehood. So can you talk about what does that mean to tailor your life to your singlehood, and then some of your top tips for doing so?
Sure. Admittedly, I have not revisited that chapter in quite a while. Um, so tailoring your life to yourself, it can happen in a variety of ways. Mostly it has to do with not compromising,
Mhm.
and recognizing how often during your day-to-day existence you do not have to compromise with anyone. Anyone, like, I mean, get granular with it. The temperature in your house, the scent of the candle burning in your house, whether you have a cat, a dog, a plant, or all three, like there is no compromise. Your life is built by you. Beyond that, you can take it levels deeper. I tell people to use this example if they're struggling with tailoring their lives and customizing their lives to themselves. Go in your kitchen, pick any cabinet, open it up and see what's in there and see where it's located in your kitchen, like the position of things. Are things put away in your kitchen where they are because you want them there or because that's where your parents kept them? Why are things where they are?
Mhm.
Why do you do the things you do? Is it convenient to you? Is it preferable to you? Or is it just what you know? Is it just what you were taught? Is it just familiar? Evaluate these things. Like, does my dish soap belong in the scary cabinet under the sink, which I hate, and I had to go in there yesterday and it was very unpleasant? Or maybe I prefer to decant my dish soap into a lovely glass bottle, and that way, every time I need it, I don't have to go into a cabinet I hate. I have visual pleasure in my eye line every time I'm doing dishes. Like simple, granular stuff like this that we overlook because we don't think our lives are real yet, because we don't have partners yet. And once you get a partner, then your life is real. Once you get a partner, then you can have the home you always wanted and the everything and whatever. It's a lie that we've been told that we are not real yet. We have not graduated into adulthood yet. We cannot begin our lives until we tick off the partnership box. The problem with that is that women are getting older and older and older and older and not meeting their partners for a variety of fucking reasons that I don't have time to get into, quite frankly, because your podcast will be 3 weeks long. Um, but yeah, I lose my train of thought when I get very emotive about this stuff, but it's like your life belongs to you in ways you were never encouraged to take ownership of it. It was, we've just kind of been, plunked down on this assembly line. Like, you grow up, you go to college, you get a job, you get a partner, you get a house, you get a baby, and it's an endless wheel. But what if it never moves forward? What if yours is stuck? What if it never moves forward? So what, your life doesn't get to move forward
Right.
because you can't meet a decent human being, because the dating apps are hiding them from you, or they might not exist. I don't know. I hesitate to make generalizing statements about men, but like, there's a reason we're having this much trouble with it, ladies. Like, I can't even like lie.
I try to remind women who maybe are anxious about the passing of the years is that one of the reasons actually that we're seeing a declining divorce rate is that for people who do get married later in life, you're less likely to get divorced because you know who you are and your
Mhm.
personality isn't changing as much and you've lived a life. And so you actually, by living a wonderful, joyful, happy life in which you're doing all the things you want to do while you're single, means that when you do get married later, which we should be, none of us should be 25-year-old child brides. Like, come on, like, we're not ready to be married until at least 50. But like, but when you do, you're going to be happier and have a healthier marriage.
Mhm.
And that is more likely to last you until the end of your days anyway. So it's really only a positive.
I genuinely think that women in particular could benefit societally, financially, emotionally, all the ways we can benefit from actual legal marriage not being permitted until age 40. You can partner with whoever you want. You can have babies with him. You can buy property with him, start a business, do whatever you want with him. But you cannot bind yourself to him in all the ways that marriage binds you, because I guarantee you, you didn't read that marriage license before you signed it. You shouldn't be allowed to get married until you're 40. The yeah, the divorce rate would disappear. It would disappear. The if you don't how many women of all ages, regardless, that like 25, 45 doesn't matter. How many women of all ages got married without ever looking into what was involved in getting a divorce?
Yeah.
They're never going to know how hard it is. They're never going to know how expensive it is. They're never going to know how painful it is because that's not romantic.
Mhm.
Looking into divorce while you're getting married, that's not romantic, Shani.
Can
That's
you tell
bad
that
luck.
we're both lawyers? Because we're both like, yes, obviously you should do that.
Yes.
I would add an addendum to your policy, Senator Silver, and that I would say not only do you have to be 40, but you cannot marry a man if you don't get an extensive background check. What are we doing, ladies?
Motion accepted. Like, yes, hell yes. Hell yes. It because it's not romantic. It's just not romantic. We want to believe in the fantasy. We want to enjoy our butterflies. We fucking earned them, by the way. But like, we don't want to do anything that could scare him away or rock the boat. So we're not going to do anything to secure ourselves. Is anybody a member of a Facebook group called Are We Dating the Same Guy?
No, but I have heard many a tale.
How is it not a movie? How is it not a Netflix series? Maybe I should write it. Like it is the wildest, it's the wildest ride. And it will I think unfairly skew your perspective that all men are horrific human beings that have 5 girlfriends at once and don't take care of their children. I don't think that's all men. But there's plenty of them. There's like it is so wild. It is so wild. And it's really easy to look at it and say, oh, that can never happen to me. That can never happen to anybody I know. Like, this is just wild and great. A friend of mine's boyfriend was recently posted in there because he was cheating on her and now they've broken up.
Yeah, I believe it. I don't know how anyone could reach the age of like 26 and not think, oh, yeah, that could easily be me and everyone I know because you've already seen it multiple times by then.
Oh my gosh, we have to let go of fantasy and we have to start finding romance in reality because there is romance in reality. There's a lot of romance in a clean background check, babe. There is so much romance in that. I want to have sex with that man so much more than I did before the results came through. Like, just again, cut the shit. Like, there is absolutely romance in reality, and there is, in my opinion, like no romance and plenty of delusion in just blind optimism. Like everything will be great and fun and perfect, and this is all going to work out. Again, you need to make friends with divorced women.
Yeah. Look, due diligence is sexy, ladies. Do it. Do it.
Due diligence is very, very sexy. And if he disagrees, dump him.
Yes. I mean, if you say to your boyfriend or fiance, I'm going to do a background check, and he panics, you don't even need the background check at that point. Just delete and block. Like
Same for STD tests. Same
right,
for STD tests.
exactly. Really, anything other than a trigonometry test. If he's not like, yeah,
I want proof of everything. Are you joking? I want proof of absolutely everything. If you tell me you are divorced, show me the papers. If you tell me you have a vasectomy, show me the medical records. Like, I'm sorry, but we've lived in this world. We know what it is.
Yeah.
And you're not just looking for the results of the question, you're looking for his reaction to it. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah. And we look, ladies, we be loving our true crime. This all true crime is. This is, I think, what surprises me is that we've had decades of true crime, and yet somehow women are still not getting background checks on every man they meet. And I'm just like, these two things are not adding up. Are we not learning the lessons?
I want and I will say I do find some comfort in community. It doesn't just have to be a background check. If somebody is accountable to their community for how they're treating you, I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost a lot of that in the digital dating revolution.
Yeah.
Because they're not accountable to anybody for how they treat you or what they do to you. That's a huge problem for me. And if you think it's not contributing to more people being single for longer, you're crazy.
Also, your community is a lot of times where you meet the person,
correct,
where you
yes.
decide you're going to marry. So like it's done damage on both ends.
I actually really love living in a small town for that reason because you can't get away with shit in New Orleans. Like somebody is gonna know it's going to get out. Like you need to behave yourself. Behave. It's absolutely essential. But yeah, it's community and all the ways people used to come together that, and I hate romanticizing the past and I hate, romanticizing how our grandparents met because I don't think they necessarily had happy marriages. But I wouldn't mind like going to a dance or like going to a social event that's like not pressured, that's just people in your own age bracket could like hang out and feel welcome and feel safe.
I will tell you, my grandmother saw my grandfather walk into a bar and he was the tallest, hottest guy in the bar. And she said, I'm going to marry him. And she did. And he was an absolutely wonderful, amazing husband until he died. So, like, maybe find the hottest guy at the bar.
Absolutely. That's what we mean when we say shoot your shot, ladies. That's what we mean. Wow.
Worked exactly.
That's such a great story.
It's the best. They were in Okinawa and she was just like, that's going to be the guy. And it was.
That's incredible.
Yep. And he was
Oh, I
great.
love that
All
story. I love
accounts.
stories of how people
Perfect.
met.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so
Yeah.
sweet. My grandparents were on dates with other people.
No way.
Yeah, they were at a soccer banquet because people used to have soccer banquets for their soccer teams.
Yeah.
And they were sitting across the table, directly across the table from each other. I have a picture of that night. It's the wildest thing. And they were both on dates with other people. That's where they met. And then they got married. They were married for 50 something years until she died.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the lesson is choose the hottest guy at the bar or cheat on your date.
Yes,
This is how
absolutely.
you find a happy marriage.
We need more social gatherings that are centered around things other than just drinking, although I have nothing against wine bars at all. I frequent them. But yeah, we need third spaces and we need community gatherings and reasons to hang out with people in our communities that aren't just going to dinner or going to get drinks. We are starved for that kind of thing. So
We are. The Atlantic just had an article about how Americans aren't going to parties anymore. And
yeah.
and it's true. And that is your reduction in community, but it's also if you're interested in dating, like you meet people at your friends' parties, right? Like, and we're not doing that socializing anymore, especially post COVID. And it's I know that it's tough because we all have friends who live all over the country and all over the world. Like it's our communities are digital in so many ways, but I think a lot of these things, like we wouldn't need the apps if we had old school community.
Well, I tried to fight that trend. When I moved to New Orleans and I got a house that could hold people, because I used to live in Brooklyn,
Mm.
I started hosting parties. I've hosted many, many parties in this house. And you know who comes? Couples and
Mhm.
single women. That is literally it. A single man has never crossed my threshold ever. And it's like everyone knows they can bring people. Bring whoever you want. The more the merrier. I'm so excited to see you guys. Bring whoever you want. No single men ever. What?
What are the single men doing with themselves?
If you find out, you let everybody know because none of us have any clue where they are. None of us have any idea where they are. They don't exist out in the wild. I have written about this extensively. Single men don't leave the house. Fight me and prove me wrong. Like it is,
True.
it's an odd phenomenon of our current reality. I leave the house all the time. I go out alone all the time. I go out with friends all the time. I go to festivals. I do things single men don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them there. I don't see them out in the world. I see so many partnered men at the same spaces I'm going to. So you can't tell me, oh, well, you're just doing girly things. No, I'm not. There's men there. They just have rings on.
Yeah. It's funny because this is a trend with traveling. Like couples travel, families travel, girls groups travel, women travel alone. Men don't travel very often alone or in guys groups. And I was just at Disneyland a couple weeks ago with some friends, and we saw this group, and they were clearly married middle-aged men because only married middle-aged men would do this. But it was a group of guys, and they had like matching bro Disney like camouflage shirts, and they were on like a guy's Disneyland trip. And we were like, first of all, this is amazing because it's a bunch of dudes of the Magic Kingdom having the time of their lives. But also, I thought this is like not a thing single guys would ever do.
That was somebody's bachelor party.
It was someone's like third bachelor party. They were older. They were older dudes who all clearly were married or had been several times. But like, oh, okay. Yeah, they were all gray hair. Okay. It was so great. But we were also like, this is like, me and a group of girlfriends will just say like, let's just go here or there or whatever on trips or whatever. But yeah, it's not a thing. And I mean, I think there's we could have a long conversation about masculinity and why that is. But that is interesting because it used to be single dudes showed up at parties too. If anything, to meet the single women.
Yeah, I don't know where they think they're going to meet us. I don't know how Joe Rogan has mapped that out for them. I'm not sure.
Maybe playing Red Dead Online.
I don't know how they think it's going to happen, but it's not happening often enough because people are not gathering often enough, and single men are not participating in the gatherings we do have.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, uh, we have to close, unfortunately. Although I could,
Devastating news. Devastating news.
but one the way that you close your book, and I'm referencing the book, but you obviously have so many things to say and life experience outside of it. But I love that you close it on freedom. You know, for me, a person who has wanted to be single since I was 7 and loves it so much and just cannot comprehend why anyone doesn't want to be single, that's exactly why, right? It's the freedom. It's being able to say, like, you know, a few weeks ago, oh, I'm just going to fly to London to see this play, or being able to walk naked in my house, or like use both bathrooms. Sometimes I use the hall bathroom just because it's there. And I'm like, I'm going to use this bathroom, right? Like, you just get to, everything in the fridge is still there when I look at it. And I'm like, oh, you know, oh, there's nothing worse than when you think you're going to eat like the leftover pizza in the fridge and then you go in and it's not in there and you just want to kill everybody. That doesn't happen when you have your own fridge, unless like you have family staying with you. But like, you know, there it is freedom. And one of the things I remember years ago, I had a friend whose brother married his high school sweetheart. And we were talking, and I was like, oh, that's, you know, that's very romantic or whatever. And she said, yeah, but he tells me all the time, like, he would never say this to his wife, but he really regrets it because he never got to be just a free adult. And the number of women that we hear that from, right? Like, having the chance to be your own person, it's like we said in the beginning, even if you get married later, you want that. You will have the memories of that. And for me, that's always been a very clear message about singlehood, but that is the opposite that a lot of people say. So can we just end with what are your thoughts on freedom and singlehood, and maybe even how we can get more people to embrace it?
Sure. If I have to sell you on freedom, this is a discussion between you and your therapist. I cannot do everything, and I'm not a licensed therapist, and that's something I like to reiterate all the time. If you have to be sold on why your freedom is good, look at why you ever believed your freedom was bad.
Yeah.
It's, and I don't think that freedom is so essential that relationships should scare you, because I think in the right relationships, you're still going to feel free. But if you've never experienced your freedom, how would you know?
Yep.
Once you're in a relationship, how would you know what is healthy compromise and what is unhealthy compromise? What is a, appropriate level of connection and bonding with someone, and what is controlling? You're not going to know if you've never lived your singlehood, your freedom, your adulthood fully with both hands. Like, how would you know? And what's scarier for me is if you've never lived your freedom, you're never going to know that it's better than being in a bad relationship, and you'll stay there.
Exactly.
So there's nothing more essential than, particularly women, but honestly all people, understanding that your freedom as an adult to be who you are, to do what you want, to live how you please, to all of it, it is absolutely essential to your well-being, to your future, to your relationships, to your every single thing about your life is contingent on you understanding who you are and what you need to do and what you need to run away from. Your perspective is everything. Your perspective on your own freedom, your own options, it's everything. And unfortunately, single women's perspectives have been very, very tainted by patriarchy and misogyny and pick me culture. I'm sorry. So, if I have to sell you on why your freedom is good, I really, really, really want you to spend some time looking into why you ever thought it was bad.
Yeah.
And there's hopefully plenty of resources, mine, yours, everybody's, that you can look into if you want support there. But it's a really big deal to be afraid of your own freedom, or to think that being alone and being completely free in your singlehood makes you unattractive, or that if you enjoy your singlehood and enjoy your freedom, the universe is never going to send you a boyfriend. You really have to unpack that shit, because none of it's true.
And what you just said, I feel for parents and families is such a powerful message. I was just watching a documentary about a very, very young woman who was dating this man who was very abusive. And it was very clear she just didn't understand that wasn't normal, and that she would be okay if she was on her own. And he, of course, ended up killing her. And I just kept thinking, she's so young and she's too afraid to like tell her mom, who would tell her this isn't normal, right? And she doesn't understand. And for parents, if you want your child to be in a healthy, happy marriage, then you need to encourage that freedom and that singlehood, because otherwise she's not going to know, and then she may not tell you and you may not find out till it's too late. And I that for me, what you just said is so powerful, because so many women are still getting pressure from their families to get married. They get married early, get married, and it's like, no, like, actually, if you care about the health and happiness and life of your daughter, particularly because that's who's usually victims of domestic abuse, then like it is vital that they have that freedom and that singlehood. It's a very powerful thing you just threw out there.
I wish that more parents of adult children would pay attention to it, because, you know, in all the true crime we've ever watched, the hardest part for me is the families who are still here. That is the difficult part for me, because they are destroyed. And these things, like, I hate saying, oh, this was preventable. Like, that is arrogant and privileged of me to say. Like,
No, but
horrible
a lot
things
of times
happen.
it like, I mean, education so often, and I think we skip the conversation about what could we have taught these women, these whatever, that could have helped them protect themselves, because it's perceived as victim blaming, but it's not, right? We live in a dangerous world. And the more we can teach women about what they have the right to expect, about how to look out for red flags, et cetera, because unfortunately, we're not fixing men anytime soon, but we can teach women to protect themselves. And I think that's an important part of the conversation that we skip a lot.
I agree. I mean, I would still like some education around how to not abuse women. That might be where I'd love to start.
I mean,
the plan, but like you said, I don't know how fruitful it would be.
well,
So.
and it's interesting because there have been so many studies on why men abuse women, and the outcome usually is, oh God, there are so many reasons. And even if I'm talking to these men in prison, they don't actually see what they did wrong. It's actually
prison.
Yeah, reading the studies and is really scary, but it leads you to realize, yes, we have to work on this, right? And actually, I have a previous episode with Ross Morales Raqueto, who is right now starting this really great organization, and it's an attempt to fix men. Good luck, buddy. That is a thing we need, but we need to be sure that women are safe and protected and protecting themselves while we're waiting for men to be fixed.
Agreed.
Yeah. Shani, well, first of all, we're besties now.
Yes.
We're definitely hanging out the next time I'm in NOLA.
Absolutely, please.
I thank you so much, everyone. Obviously, the links to everything will be in the show notes. Subscribe to the Substack, listen to the pod, buy the book, do all the things. Follow her on Instagram. It's so inspirational, and share her works, because look, we are at a point when more of us are single than not. And so we may as well just be happy and thriving, you know?
I couldn't agree more.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Thanks for listening to Choose the Bear. The best way to support this podcast is to leave a review and share it with someone who might love it too. It really helps. See you next time.